Tuesday Tidbit time, and I'm so excited to be with you today. This is Carrie. Welcome to Workplace Education Manitoba. Guys, I missed you. It feels like it's been an entire year. So welcome. And please, some of you are finding the chat already. I love it. Amy, Happy New Year! Welcome to everyone. Let us know where you're joining from. My ride-in today was stunning. It looked like a postcard with all the frost and the sun. I don't know, just something about that brings like a big fat smile to my heart. This is so great. It has been an entire year, Stacey. Well, I'm coming to you from, no surprise here, downtown Selkirk. Well, more on the outskirts, but calling in from St. Andrews. This is so fantastic. Love seeing everybody. And just so you know, we have Rochelle in the wings here. So if you have any tech issues or math equations you need handled, please feel free to contact Rochelle. She's showing up here as Workplace Education Manitoba. Felicia, welcome from Winkler. See, isn't it so fun to see where we're joining from throughout the province? I know I've said it once, I'll say it probably every single time. The gift that the COVID has given us is this opportunity to explore our online learning and through this platform. And we are so thankful for Tuesday Tidbits, quick way to get a little continuous learning down the hatch for the rest of the week. Now, as you know, we are here to help people develop essential skills that are needed for work, learning, and life. And our website, wem.mb.ca, that's our, well, you know, I call it the mothership. We also have our WEM Interlake, as you know. Our vision is that all Manitobans have access to the essential skills, knowledge, and training required to determine and pursue their goals related to learning, the workplace, and life. And can I get a hands up for anybody that has noticed throughout your training time with us how you've been able to apply these skills, not just in the workplace, but also in your everyday life? Has anybody else noticed that? I would love to see by show of emoji if that's the truth for you. I know it definitely is for me. Now, we would like to express appreciation to the following for supporting the development of this continuous learning skills curriculum: Employment and Social Development Canada and Manitoba Education and Training. As a reminder, this project was jointly funded through Human Resources Skills Development Canada and Entrepreneurship Training and Trade. Now, if you're curious about all that stuff, again, our website, wem.mb.ca, or pop us a line, info@wem.mb.ca. Now, as a quick little reminder, since I got excited about the emojis, we may have new friends joining us today. Right at the top of the screen, just above the PowerPoint, you will see an option for emojis, for questions, and of course, feel free to use those. This isn't, you know, you can only use them once. We love the emojis. It's so fun to watch them slide by, right? Are you guys with me? So fantastic. The other thing, of course, is our chat. So please feel free to ask questions, to interact in the chat in this one-way delivery. The drawback and the great thing is that you are stuck listening to me, but you still have a voice using the chat. Now, what are essential skills? We talk about how important they are, these wonderful essential skills. What are we talking about? Let's take a look at the bottom two layers here. Our 9 essential skills include reading text, document use, oh, sorry, I just about threw up. Numeracy, just joking, math, right? Writing, digital technology. We have oral communication, working with others, thinking skills, and continuous learning. And so I would love for you to just pop into the chat. When you think of management and leadership, which of these skills would work, would fit in? Yeah, absolutely. Working with others. So important, right? As leaders, to know how to work with others. Some of you may be thinking, probably all of them. I would agree, but definitely these are my top 2 as well: working with others and oral communication. Thanks, Elaine, for that. So as we go throughout our session today, kind of tuck this little pyramid in the back of your mind. those essential skills that we're talking about, and then our competencies, and then of course the training that we're providing today will work towards our knowledge, skills, and ability. So cool, right? That's why we have them layered like that in the pyramid. So welcome again, management versus leadership, really hot topic, one that I'm very passionate about. So today we're going to look at the differences between leadership and management, Kelsey Breeze, and look at self-directed leadership as well. This is our truth. Although your position may give you authority, it doesn't make you a leader. It makes you a boss. What's the diff? What's the difference between a leader and a boss? Has anybody ever worked for a boss and then worked for a leader? I know I have. There's a huge difference. One of the words that comes to mind for me is empower, right? They allow it, the leader makes us or empowers us, enables us to do our job. A leader gets in there and shows you the way. Absolutely. They lead by example. They're not just there to dictate to you. They don't mind making the coffee or whatever it is, right? They're part of the team. And so we think back to, Kirsten, your comment, working with others. A leader knows how to do that. Not quite, maybe not quite instinctively, but they've something they've learned along the way. Or maybe they do know it instinctively. But the thing is, they're able to build that team camaraderie. And I learned how to spell that word last year. It was pretty empowering. Now, a boss uses authority. We said this earlier, right? They accomplish the objectives through authority. People do things because they have to. A leader, here's big fat difference, is able to influence the thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors of others to want to achieve high goals. If you can think of a leader that you've had in your life, someone that you admire, someone that you felt empowered by, there's a really good chance that you went above and beyond for that leader because you wanted to. Am I right? Now, the difference between a manager and a leader, what do you guys think right off the hop here? Oh, by the way, as you're typing in, I will be pausing and giving you space to type in. If I start yammering on again and you haven't finished your thought, finish your thought and send it, because I still want to hear it. Even if you feel like, well, we've already moved past that point. No, we haven't. We can always come back. This isn't, you missed your chance. Not at all. So the difference between a manager and a leader, what comes to mind? John, I like that. Yeah, good role model. Definitely. Power. A leader would be proactive and act as a model. Michelle, a leader encourages growth and will sit in as a team member to get the job done. 100%. Yeah. Karina's saying team. Absolutely. They're fostering that team attitude. A manager tries to manage and only does what needs to be done. A leader will go above and beyond what needs to be done. They have vision for them and their employees. Harley, I love the word vision, and I think that that's so true, the difference perhaps between management and leadership. And manager is specific in duty, right? Maybe they're more focused on task, whereas a leader would be focused on people or that bigger picture. Well, let's take a look. Let's see. Uncovering, right? A leader sets direction, helps others see what lies ahead, just like you said, Harley, right, with that vision, and encourages and inspires others. And motioning back to Karina, who said team, right, that building that team. Now, think about what you do in a day. And if you have a space to write it down, write it down. If you don't, that's okay too. But think about what you do in a day. What are your typical tasks? And include email. Yesterday, I've started, some of you are like, Carrie, I've been doing that for years. But I, first off, made a spreadsheet, so that should be celebrated. Second, started tracking when I was checking my email. So I'm working really hard at being more structured in my time management and all that stuff. Practice what you preach, right? And so it was astonishing and kind of gross at how much time is spent on email. Now, it is our main way of communication, 100%. So, making sure that we're still communicating with our people, but how much time are we spending in that? It's kind of interesting. So if you look at all the tasks that you do in a day, now some of you I know are pulled in many different directions. And so still include each one of those things, even though it feels like a distraction, that distraction is still part of what you do in a day. Okay? So think about it. And here's something for you. Management is getting people to do what needs to be done. Okay, we're gonna talk slowly here. Leadership is getting people to want to do what needs to be done. Managers push, leaders pull. Managers command, leaders communicate. Now, my hope today is that we leave here going, wow, I need management and I also need leadership. Because at one point, I looked at this quote and said, why in the world would I ever want to focus on management? This seems kind of mean and rude and aggressive and abrasive. But if you think about it, there are times when we will need both. Now, part of that is understanding where our team is at as well. So if our team is in a forming, we are going to be in more of that command role. Whereas if our team is in a high performing state, high trust, we can communicate. So it really depends on the stage of our team development. Now, are there specific traits, behaviors, and situations that affect how one leads? Well, I gave you a hint here. One would be the stage of our team development. What else would affect how we lead? The number of employees? Yeah. What about if there's a change in that number of employees for a variety of different reasons? What about a pandemic? Sorry to throw that in there, but it made a lot of difference, right? In the way that we lead, in the way that we manage, definitely. People's personalities, thanks Becky for that. Stress, understaffing, a sudden pandemic, recession. Another really gross one. What about legislation? Team dynamics? Empathy? 100%. And I think along with that, our own personal level of emotional intelligence, right? Are we able to draw from that empathy? Do we have that social awareness that we need? And are we able to recognize strengths and weaknesses of our team members? That will lead us to being a more effective leader. Absolutely true. Home stressors for team members. Are we bringing home to work and work to home? Probably, right? We try not to, but the truth is, when we're dealing with a lot of those heavy things, we're dragging that stuff with us. And so being mindful of all of these things, and especially with ourselves, the old oxygen mask analogy, and then being able to empower and enable our people so that they too can perform at that high level. Brendan, yes, training, skill level of team members, the makeup of the team. Insufficient training is very, very challenging. as is, for those of you that are going to hang out with me at 11, talking about expectations. Have we delivered those expectations for our team members? And oftentimes we're seeing, if we're not, spoiler alert, we're going to be leading down the road to conflict, miscommunication, gross mistrust issues, right? We start to see the snowball effect. And so simple things like training and recognizing skill level, the strengths and weaknesses of our teams will make a huge difference on whether we're focusing on management and leadership. Okay, this is our matching tattoo of the day, our leadership triangle. So at the bottom, you'll see people. Why? Because without our people, we really don't have a lot going on. So our people being the people on our team, we also, in the back of our minds, our external customers as well as those internal customers, and our people are at that base of our triangle under leadership. We lead people. Friends, we're not managing people. Guess what? They do that on their own. What we do as leaders is we manage the process. So the way that we're getting things done. And by the way, we also have our own technical work to do, our own tasks. And so if you think back to that list that you made in your mind or on a piece of paper, right? The technical part is so important as well. And that's why we see this as, here's the math, equilateral triangle, right? Is that the right word? So that we're managing our processes, we're leading our people, and yes, we're still getting our work done. Now, it's not to say that one is more important than the other. There will be times like a pandemic or home life issues where we're drawing from that empathy and we're supporting our people. The thing is that if we don't have good processes and we don't have great leadership, this is going to collapse. And again, that's where we see what? Inefficiencies, turnover, absenteeism, presenteeism, right? People showing up, but they're checked out emotionally or mentally, or they're ill. Right, so if we can, for today, consider this triangle and ask yourself, where am I spending the majority of my time? Am I spending it in the process? Am I spending it in people, or am I spending it in task? And there may be some of those tasks that you're looking at, you're like, Carrie, some of these kind of overlap. And I would say you are correct. Some of them will overlap. However, is there an opportunity as leaders where we could be supporting our people better? Maybe. So our management encourages the day-to-day caretaker activities, maintains and allocates resources. Subsystems asks how and when to engage in standard practice. So many of us have had to rely on those policies and procedures to help pull us through different difficulties, right? Or even just in the day-to-day. Acts within established culture of the organization. We're going to work with inside that box. Use transactional influence. So there's a difference between a transactional leader and a transformational leader. Transactional, we're lighting the fire under someone. Transformational, stoking that fire within. Again, old Carrie used to say, well, really I was younger, but former, I would say, why would I ever want transactional influence? Well, sometimes it's helpful. Even if we look at the third point, formal authority under number 5. Relies on control strategies and status quo supporter and the word stabilizer. Can you guys picture the person in your organization that is the stabilizer, whether they're in a formal management role or not? Can you see their face or their name? Now with leadership, those long-term objectives, plans, strategies, tactics, innovates for the entire organization, asks what and why to change standard practice. A little bit different, right, between management, creates vision, uses that transformational influence, like I was talking about, that stoking the fire within, inducing change in values, attitudes, behavior. They'll often use personal examples and expertise. Again, if you think about that leader that was that leader for you, good chance that they use transformational influence. Empowerment, and a change creator. Isn't that such a great term? I love it. Now, like I said, I got excited. LMRT, your leadership, your management, or your technical work, consider that. Where are you spending the majority of your time? And do you need to change it? Do you have an imbalance in your triangle? And maybe you have that imbalance because you have to. Maybe today is the day that we're focusing more on the process. Maybe our people are okay. Maybe we're working in a high trust team where our people are supporting one another and we get to focus now on the process. Or, amazingly, we get to focus on our own work. Now, can an employee be an informal leader? Have you guys seen this? Have you noticed someone on your team that can just jump in and take the reins when needed? Isn't it so exciting? I love it. Yes. 100. I agree. It's totally awesome. I think that's Rochelle and I were, pumping each other up earlier, saying that's one thing that we love working together, is being able to have that ability to step in and step out as needed. High trust. That's what it says to me. Does everybody know what Rochelle's talking about? Oh, the big fat Greek wedding, the neck, right? We may not be the head, but we are the neck and we can turn it whichever way we want. Super great one. Thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit today about self-leadership, having a developed sense of who you are, what you can do, and where you are going. Now, these are questions that are probably rolling around in the back of our mind from time to time. This is important to know. So we said earlier, well, I didn't say it, someone else said it, knowing the strengths and weaknesses of our team members. We need to know ours as well, right? If we know what our strengths are, then we can build off of them. Some of you that know me know that I believe that with my whole heart, that when we build off of our strengths, magical things happen. When we recognize and build off of the strengths of our team members, magical things happen. And it's not to say that we're going to ignore our weaknesses. We're going to look at those weaknesses and say, are any of these threatening enough to cause damage? Is there something I need to change here? And I think as leaders, especially if we look at that leadership part of leadership, is to be able to be change ready, to be always anticipating the next change. Where are we going? If nothing else, the pandemic has given us a few things. And I think one of those is, I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to say it, guys. I'm going to use the P word, to be able to pivot, right? And I think that in these unprecedented times, that was for Karina, that we are able to do that. We're able to look at, what are my strengths? How am I going to use these strengths? What are the strengths of my team? How am I going to use those strengths to help bolster our team leadership here? It's the honest to goodness truth, as cheesy as it is, it's totally true. Now, let's combine that with our ability to influence our communication, our emotions, and the behaviors that we have to get there. Often we're so focused on, maybe it's education, but what about experience? What about the skills? What about the natural talents that each one of our team members bring? That will also lead us to really cool and great things. I've seen it, I've felt it, and I know that that's true. So I wanted to pull in Warren. He's really smart, professor of business administration at the University of Southern California. He has studied and talks about the importance of harnessing people power. So I wanted to bring in a really cool quote from him. Is everybody seated? Management is getting people to do what needs to be done, right? Does this sound familiar? We used it earlier. Leadership is getting people to want to do what needs to be done. Managers push, leaders pull. Managers command, leaders communicate. Now, I hope that sounds familiar because we started off with that quote today. And it's an important one. Both management and leadership are needed to make teams and organizations successful. Now, Jim Cotter, another one of these people that studies management and leadership, He said, trying to decide which is more important, talking about management and leadership, is like trying to decide whether the right wing or the left wing is more important to an airplane's flight. I'll take both, please. Now, before we go today, I would love to hear from you. Just throw it all into the chat. What stood out to you the most in looking at management and leadership? We consider that difference of transactional leaders versus transformational leadership. Again, both are needed, right? There are times when we're lighting fires. There are times when we're stoking the fire within. The other hope that I have is that we're able to look at our teams and be honest and say, I know where my team is performing along that Bruce Tuckman's forming, storming, norming, and performing. I know that we're working in a high-performing team, and so I'm going to change the way I lead my people based on where they're at, where we're at as a team. If we're not doing that, if we're not having that flexibility to shift our own leadership style based on what our team needs, there's a good chance we're not going to get very far. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining today. Thank you for your comments, for your amazing emojis. Please go forth and consider, where am I spending the majority of my time? Management, leadership, technical tasks. Do I need to change it? You might. Take care, everybody. Go forth and be awesome.